But didn't you also get shot in the face with an arrow on a trampoline?
And I was jumping on a trampoline, and when I was in high
purpose?
school, no, it wasn't on purpose.
It was like a Rube Goldberg machine. It was a series of unfortunate events
that
led to her being shot with a bow and arrow on a trampoline.
Remember when we first met John McClane? Argyle picked him up from the plane and took him down the Nakatomi Tower at the Christmas party. And the terrorists were overzealous, but it was sweet when they killed Ellis. And with a little help from Alan,
Welcome back to Shat the Movies, the podcast where we answer the question, were the movies we loved when growing up really that good? Have you ever caught yourself thinking, why don't they make movies like they used to? Can you still remember spending your Friday night searching for the perfect movie rental at Blockbuster Video? Do you even remember what Blockbuster Video was? If you answered yes, and this is the podcast for you, I am one of your three co-hosts, Roger Roper, and alongside me are my two co-hosts, Big D, Dick Ebert.
Good evening.
And Carrie Yabo Gross.
Don't give me a jerk-off hand job.
And each week, the audience selects from 6 movie choices that we then break out a race car VHS tape rewinder and watch the movie that tallied the highest number of votes. At the end of each podcast, the three of us will provide you, the audience, with a number of wipes each movie would take to get off your respective butts. So thank you so much for listening. If you haven't already, please subscribe to us wherever you get fine podcasts, including iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, SoundCloud, TuneIn, Spotify, wherever. You can also check us out over at Shat on TV, where we review television series such as Westworld, Taboo, American Gods, and Game of Thrones. That being said, Big D, what movie are we doing today?
So I think that this is probably the gas station sushi of categories. You've had too much to you've had too much to drink.
Yeah, you're making
go
terrible
out,
decisions.
You're hungry, and that gas station sushi looks good. You think maybe it hasn't been there that long.
Right.
That's what this category is. It seemed like a good idea when it was recommended. So? Yeah. But right about now, it's coming due, and sometimes you just have a craving.
Can I call this the gas station taquitos of movie categories?
Well,
because it's kind of extreme. I feel like extreme sports people like taquitos.
I do like racetrack taquitos, so that's
pretty good.
That's a conversation for a different day. But the category was recommended extreme sports. In last place was Thrashing from 86, The North Shore 87, Rad at 86, Airborne 93, my pick BMX Bandits, Nicole Kidman's first movie, and the winner, Gleaming the Cube from 1989 with a whopping 29.7%. It got 450 votes of the 1,500 votes submitted. So that's what we'll be covering tonight, Gleaming the Cube.
I have a confession to make. This might be illegal. I mean, I don't know. Maybe we don't want to air it at all. But every computer at my hospital has a different IP address. So
yeah, that's not just your hospital. That's called the world.
So I've been getting on and voting for certain movies.
Oh, okay. From different computers?
I kicked myself in the ass because I voted for this one.
Really? Well, how many fucking times did you vote for it?
I don't know, at least 20. I mean, it doesn't make an impact on 50.
Jesus. Oh, yeah, it doesn't make a difference.
Doesn't make a difference, but when I started watching this movie, I was like, motherfucker. I went out of my way, and I voted on 20 different work computers. What I really wanted was Pee-wee's Big Adventure, but I had to vote through every category.
Yeah, to get to Pee-wee, you got to go through a couple weeks. Well, Gleaming the Cube, also known as A Brother's Justice and Skate or Die, is an American film released in 1989. It featured Christian Slater as Brian Kelly, a 16-year-old skateboarder investigating the death of his adopted Vietnamese brother. The film received a moderate release in the United States from 20th Century Fox. Although the film had a relatively low box office turnout, it garnered a significant cult following after its theatrical release through basic cable replays on networks such as USA and the burgeoning VHS and later DVD market, as well as amongst skateboarders and skateboard culture. Legendary skateboarders such as the Bones Brigade made an appearance led by Stacy Peralta, although some of the more famous skaters that appeared in the film included Mike McGill, Mark Gator Rogowski, Rodney Mullen, Eric Dressen, Lance Mountain, Mike Vallely, Natas Kaupas, Tommy Guerrero, and many others. The film also features Tony Hawk as Buddy, a Pizza Hut delivery driver. We always ask the question, where were you the first time you watched this movie? We'll start with you, Carrie Gross.
Never seen it, but for some reason, like you heard me say earlier, I took it upon myself to vote several times just because I love Christian Slater.
Okay,
And
so you were, but what's your favorite Christian Slater film? Like when you think of Christian Slater, what do you think of?
You guess,
Heathers.
you get one guess. Oh, okay, 2. You get 2 guesses. 3.
What
No,
was the
3
big D?
guesses.
It's Heathers and Pirate Radio is what she thinks of. Or what's
It's
that stupid one?
Heathers.
Pump up the volume.
It's Heathers,
Pump Up the Volume,
Pump Up
definitely.
the Volume, and Interview with the Vampire.
That's right. He was in an interview with the vampire. He's the journalist.
I would have paid. I should have sponsored to just be like, fuck this category, Christian Slater, and then we could have picked from any of those 3. Pump Up the Volume is so good.
Christian Slater's kind of having like his own like reconnaissance. Like, like when Matthew McConaughey,
No.
got back on the scene. Like he's on Mr. Robot right now. Christian Slater's doing well.
He does one show that's not a reconnaissance.
How dare you?
But I will tell you where I was. It was 3 a.m. in the morning on my couch. My parents are in town. I'm trying to be the good son, letting them spend time with them as much as I can. My father decided to sit up and watch fucking Pickers, with those 2 guys.
Ooh, American Pickers?
Yeah, not only was it American Pickers, but it was episodes they had already seen until they decided to go to sleep.
So they know how much things are worth? Ooh, I love that. You already know. He's going to get that car for $300. Look, he knows. And then he's going to turn around and sell it for $2,000.
Yeah, they have a problem with Mike. Or no, Mike's the one they like, Frank's the one they don't like. So they finally go to sleep. I try to watch it, and I really try as best I can to find legal means to watch these movies. Often I rent them from iTunes. This movie was the most challenging find I have ever. I felt like it was back in the day where I was on Napster trying to find a copy of an MP3.
Do you think that by you trying to find a legal version of this, that Christian Slater's getting some penny on the dollar of your Amazon download of this movie? No, he's not.
Well, hold on. So I'm going to tell you I have a theory behind this, because you cannot get it on iTunes. You can't find it any good copy on any pirating sites. The only one you could find is Amazon Prime has a copy of this that they do sell and rent, but it has a major issue with the audio sync. The drift on the audio as the movie gets on, by about halfway through, it's about a 5-second delay. People have left tons of bad reviews on Amazon. They just leave it up there. I have my theory. 20th Century Fox is so embarrassed about this movie. They want it to die. You can't find it. You can't watch it. You can't get the soundtrack. They're trying to pile up like the E.T. video game from Atari, pile them up and just put them in a landfill in Arizona.
Wait a minute. Hold on. This was definitely not a 20th Century Fox
It is
distribution. No.
It was.
No. Then you have the most recent copy. So they must have purchased the rights to this movie
From Pizza
after.
Hut.
No, yeah, because this movie was definitely not originally distributed by 20th Century Fox. The Rank Organization and Gladden Entertainment Corporation were the original producers and distributors of this film. I got a pirated copy that was from a VHS. It was a VHS transfer. So I got the original release from one of the pirated sites, and it's brilliant. It is great. This movie, fucking wow. It has 29%.
Of course you would say brilliant.
It has 29% on Rotten Tomatoes, which I believe is an injustice. This is quite possibly one of the best bad movies I've ever seen, and I can see why it has such a cult following in the skateboarding community. That being said, Big D, play the trailer.
Adults are predictable. They expect you to behave as though what you do today is going to have an effect on where you'll be in 30 years. I mean, it's ridiculous to think that there's going to be anything in 30 years. I don't know what's worse, being blown up in nuclear war or having a 7-Eleven on every corner.
You want it to be just like you? I think maybe if I had your haircut, I could sell more policies? Or maybe if I had your mouth, I could close a deal every day.
Give him a break.
Giving them too many.
They love you, Yeah, they don't know what to think of me. Maybe I am as bad as they say.
Who says?
Everyone.
You're different.
They're living under this illusion that life as we know it is going to continue forever.
I'm in trouble.
You got a B+ in calculus? This is murder.
It was an accident.
They killed my brother.
You're not listening to me.
No, you're the one who's not listening.
It was a suicide.
They killed my brother.
No one knows anything except a kid on a skateboard.
It happened right here. I'm not lying.
You gotta hear what it sounds like from where I'm standing.
Everybody knows that you're blaming yourself for the way that he died, but I just want you to know that your friends, they still think about you.
Somebody had to shake their tree. You said so yourself.
Oh, yeah. By the rules.
You got your team, I got mine. I guess we all do unexpected things sometimes, don't we?
Gleaming the Cube.
Brian Kelly is an underachieving high school student in Orange County, California. An avid skateboarder along with many of his friends, Brian is frequently at odds with his parents for his increasingly reckless behavior, which has landed him in jail on more than one occasion. The only person in the family Brian can relate to is his adopted Vietnamese brother, Vin, who works as a shipping clerk for the Vietnamese Anti-Communist Relief Fund, or the VACRIF, an organization whose stated purpose is to send medical supplies to Vietnam.
So right off the bat, I really don't have high expectations for this movie. We have a skating montage right off the bat with the theme to Gleaming the Cube. The lyrics...
So good. It's so good. Anytime an 80s movie has a theme song related to the actual plot of the movie, I get excited.
Well, no, if you read the lyrics, they're very much so you could follow the whole movie.
Can I get a spoken word? Spoken
I don't
word.
have. I couldn't find the lyrics. I searched and searched and searched. So I had to. Wasn't going to transcribe them, but I know it's take it higher and faster than anybody's gone before.
Mm-hmm.
Gleaming the cube, gleaming the cube, gleaming the cube, gleaming the cube, gleaming the tube.
That's right. Yeah,
totally radical, bro.
Yes. So I don't have high expectations.
It's not Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Let's not get ahead of ourselves.
So somehow in the 80s and 90s, it must have been okay for just random packs of kids to skateboard onto the runway of a private airport. And it's a
private airport. That's John Wayne County Airport, sir. That is a public international airport.
Well, I just noticed all the private planes, but and I understand that it's a skateboarding. It's actually not a skateboarding movie. It's a murder mystery with skateboarding on the side. And you know the actors can't skate. So every shot you will see their heads, like from the waist up, like they're all on dollies, like, woo, yeah, rad, woo, buff that rock, totally rad, yeah, gleam the cube, slam time. And then you'll see like a distant shot of them skateboarding. So you know it's not the same person.
Yeah, it felt like the direction of this movie was two different movies. Like at some point, like when this is an actual movie with scenes like with Christian Slater talking to his Vietnamese brother, or we'll get into it when the Vietnamese brother is going into the warehouse and investigating. The movie feels like it's shot like a made-for-TV movie.
Yeah.
The skating shots, however, feel like they called in the director on day one and they were like, "All right, dudes, you're gonna gnar this drained out pool somewhere up in the Hollywood Hills, and we're gonna just set some stationary cameras up and just catch you fucking doing a sweet grind."
First off, I'm uncomfortable with you keep saying Vietnamese brother. He has a name. His name is Vin.
Vin. I said Vin.
But you keep saying
Let's spell
Vietnamese
it the
brother.
Vietnamese way.
It is VINH. Vin. Guys, how many of us, raise your hand, has an adopted Asian brother or sister?
Oh, I didn't realize that your Chinese sister was from Vietnam.
How many of you have an Asian adopted sibling? This movie I completely related to. It's a progressive movie. It's ahead of its time. I was like, this makes a lot of sense. Like, no one understands what it's like to be a token white dude and have, your Vietnamese, and have an Asian sibling that people are like, wait a minute, that's your sibling? That's your brother? What?
So were you a skateboarder?
Mm-mm. No, I was too fat to skateboard. If I ever write an autobiography, that's what I'm going to name it, Too Fat to Skateboard. But like before we even get to the Orange County skateboarding montages, the opening, again, I got this on VHS. The Rank organization, the opening credits, I don't know what other movies they may have produced, but it's a naked man. It is they show the outline, like just the top of a penis, as he's like banging a gong. And then the Gladden Entertainment Corporation, I swear, the opening credits of the Gladden Corporation sounds like when you used to watch high school science videos, or like you went to the planetarium and just before they were like, the universe has been around for millions of years and then the Big Bang Theory happened. It's like, near. Like you just know the movie is going to be just something special when all of that culminates together. And then you have the Gleaming the Cube soundtrack. I was super excited to have this movie, but no, I was not a skateboarder. I did hang out with people who knew how to skateboard. I also was friends with someone who could really breakdance. And I if you look at me with childhood pictures, there's me trying to do these things and I'm like the worst at it. But Carrie, you're a goth kid. Goth kids and skateboarding, they kind of go hand in hand.
I mean, I had some guy friends that skateboarded, but I can't do anything that involves balance. Nothing.
Big D?
Yeah, I did attempt to skateboard. I owned a skateboard, but I think I like the idea more of just, that final step where you kick on the tail and you pop it up to your hand and you walk around and people are like, oh, wow, that's rad. But the actual skateboarding
so you
part.
Hold on. So you would show up to events with your friends who knew how to skate and you would just carry your skateboard and just say stuff?
No.
Tubular guys.
No, I would skate, but then I'd be like, oh my God, the road's too rough. I'm really not getting up a good head of speed.
You would find excuses?
I mean, the most extreme thing I ever did was an ollie. So that'll tell you how bad I was.
That's pretty cool.
But, I would just always be like, yeah, I'm going to carry it around and wonder how people thought of me. What a fucking douche.
I can't skateboard and I can't skate. My dad has played hockey since he was 3 years old. I can't ice skate. There's home videos of me crying, clinging onto the wall. And my dad's like, just go, sink or swim. And even for years, I rode a bike and never drove a car, probably for the safety of the public. But I crashed my bike, got hit by a car, and got hit by a bus within 48 hours. So then I quit riding my bike as well. So I things with wheels or skates, nothing. I'm done.
But didn't you also get shot in the face with an arrow on a trampoline?
And I was jumping on a trampoline. And when I was in high
purpose?
school, no, it wasn't on purpose.
It was like a Rube Goldberg machine. It was a series of unfortunate events that led to her being shot with a bow and arrow on a trampoline.
Lemony Snicket hit you with the bow and arrow?
I was at a slumber party where the girl was also having her brother's birthday party and everybody was sleeping over. He got a bow and arrow for his birthday. I was swinging on a hammock. He came down on the trampoline with it bowed right in the forehead. But when I was 14, I was jumping on a trampoline and I just broke my ankle. I didn't even fall off. I was just jumping up and down and then it just snapped. So I don't do any of that stuff.
No, it's because goth kids, you're very pale. You don't like to go outside. Any events that involve the sun or daylight, you guys just, you cringe. I can't picture a pack of goth kids skateboarding.
No. You know what I can do? I can dance and that's it. And it's
yeah.
You got to see it to believe. It's not really dancing either.
So that goes into skater logic. So now none of us were skaters, but I can understand the genre. At this time in the late 80s, it was kind of a lull in the skate culture, but everything is predictable. Don't trust adults. They think in 30 years, whatever, it's the atomic bomb and I'd rather have a 7. It's laughable that they portray adults this way, but when we were kids, did we really think adults were that dumb?
Yes.
Absolutely. 100%. Or they didn't get us. That's the thing I like about this movie is that it doesn't take a Hollywood approach to skater culture. It actually is quite progressive in its beliefs. It's actually, no, seriously. I wrote this down. I was like,
oh, it must be real then. He wrote it down.
So Brian is very conscious of the fact that he has an adopted Vietnamese brother and he doesn't let that get in the way of things, or he doesn't try to treat his brother special. And in skater culture, they're big on health. You'll notice that when he's having the conversation, when Vin is smoking, he's like, those will kill you. It is 1989. Everyone is smoking. And the skater kids are like, you know what? Don't smoke. Wear safety helmets. Wear safety gear. Go to Pizza Hut with your bros. And you know what? Don't stereotype people because we don't want to be labeled. We just want to have fun. We don't want giant corporations coming in and putting 7-Elevens on every corner. We want there to be a
whoa, hold on. Talk about healthy.
A little bit of culture.
Are you vaping again?
Sorry, I'm not vaping. No.
Are you vaping during the recording?
I'm getting over a cold. Do you want me to do that again?
No.
Are you kidding me? That
perfect.
was gold.
I want to interject here, and I'm probably going to steal Big D's line, but he texted me several times. Was like, this movie is like it's written by 50-year-old white men who like, oh, skateboarding is cool. So all those things that you just said, real fucking skateboarders don't give a shit about healthcare and smoking, and they're not wearing fucking helmets, and they're not culturally appropriate. They're listening to actual punk rock music. Hey, this is a white man being like, I want to make a movie about skateboarding and make it culturally PG.
In 1989?
Yes.
Hold on. In 1989.
Yep.
Okay, calm down.
You're crazy.
Tony Hawk, calm down. Okay. So the reason why I think it was written by some old white guy about what kids would want, kids had to be more creative than bribing a student pilot to get in his Cessna and to find an empty pool. Fucking Yabo has an empty pool in his family's yard. Why the fuck are you out on a private runway? It's not a private runway, sorry, John Wayne. A lot of it is campy. There's no way that Tony Hawk was out there with that giant Walmart like safety helmet, wrist guards, and like elbow pads and knee pads. No.
Absolutely he was. Absolutely he was. Tony Hawk came out like in support of safety requirements, but
because
like,
he was getting paid by some 50-year-old white man.
Yes. He also had video games.
He revolutionized the way we play video games. They don't want to just keep going at Yabo's pool, and they want to search for some more gnarly pools. And while they're up in the Cessna, they're gonna put up stickers all over because that's skateboard culture.
Okay,
but
I want to address another one of your ridiculous claims that this movie was progressive and was very equal. Okay, I'm going to tell you why this movie is such a joke in the Asian stereotypes that it portrays.
Oh, there's definitely Asian stereotypes.
Okay, so just listen. First of all, we have the Vietnamese brother who has to help him with his geometry homework. He dresses like he works at Old Navy, shirts tucked in. Mm-hmm. He has a job. I don't know if the parents are making him pay rent, but it seems like he's working for his keep, okay? Every Asian bad guy, whenever they're on screen or... You okay, Grandpa?
Man, I'm just now getting over it.
You need to gargle with some salt water.
What flavor is that vape? Is that watermelon? What do you?
I'm not vaping.
Okay. Every time that either Vin or one of the Asian bad guys is on screen, there's like a bamboo flute, like yes, that there's a bad guy there, right?
Right. Well, like all right. So I could totally see where you're coming from because there's definitely scenes where Vin is infiltrating that warehouse. Yes, there's the bamboo flute music, and then
hold on.
It's a copy scene for scene. It's scene for scene from like a ninja movie or like a Bruce Lee movie when he's having to like scale a gate in Enter the Dragon and like infiltrate. If you've ever seen Enter the Dragon, it's fucking stop what you're doing and go watch it. It's the best kung fu movie of all time.
But that's coming from Roger Roper, so
yes.
It's not backed by Shat the movies.
I will fight anyone who disagrees with me that Enter the Dragon is not the premier kung fu movie of all time. But there's definitely elements of that throughout the movie. I'm like, does this really need it?
Listen, the kung fu part isn't the stereotypical part. He has a fucking giant camera with a huge... Right. It wasn't like he snuck in there with a little Kodak like disposable. He's in there like he's shooting landscapes. Like he's shooting like a beautiful scene. Come on.
Yeah, no, I get it. All right, well, again, we're getting ahead of ourselves, but I wanted to talk about, because we're also introduced in the beginning of this film when they're caught at the house that has, for some reason, an empty pool. I don't know if the house is being redone or whatever the case is. They're all sat down, and the owner is really pissed off, and he's some Hollywood Hills douchebag. And he's like, I want those kids fucking arrested.
Hollywood douchebag.
No, hold on. Whatever. He was being an asshole.
He's called a homeowner. If I found these fucking delinquents grinding.
Are you kidding me?
If they were buffing the rock and somebody fucking had slam time in my pool.
It's not buffing the rock. It's gleaming the cube.
It's gleaming the cube.
No, go back and watch the pool scene. The dialogue goes, all right. Oh, yeah. Buff that rock. Woo. Totally rad. Totally gleaming the cube. And then when he crashes,
Tubular.
They go, slam time. No, slam time.
Yeah, slam time. Yeah, slam. The Boys Be Boys. It's an Onyx song. Also came out in 1989. The problem that I have is, like, I don't understand the relationship between Christian Slater and that cop. Like, why does the cop let them go? Like, they seem to have some sort of strange relationship. And why does he keep flicking Christian Slater's ear? Like, at some point, I thought, is that his brother? Are they related? I have no idea what the relationship is between the kids and this detective.
So I can answer that for you. I also thought it might have been an older brother and we were going to see, but it turns out that, Brian was a troubled skateboard kid that had been arrested by him. He saw a bit of himself in him and he's trying to keep him out of trouble, trying to steer him away from that. So that's where
was that said, or did you have to do research?
I had to do research on that. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
It's in the
one part of the movie that I feel like they could have explained a little bit further.
Yeah. It's in the novelization of Gleaming the Cube.
And I only have the audiobook.
The only other book that Rogers read.
Yeah. So that
you guys, I'm so disappointed in Miss Harry and Miss Sally, because when you guys started talking about the game, I could quote that book. That book is my life.
We know it is.
Well, when Vin discovers a suspicious inaccuracy in the Vakriff's shipping records, he brings it to his boss, Colonel Track, who dismisses the matter as a clerical error. But when Vin tries to investigate further, Colonel Track abruptly fires him. Determined to find out the truth, Vin sneaks into Westpac Medical Supplies, the warehouse responsible for Vakriff's shipping, but is apprehended by the warehouse's owner, Ed Lawndale. He is then taken to a local motel and interrogated by Lawndale and Bobby Wynn, another one of Colonel Track's employees. When Colonel Track himself arrives at the motel, it is revealed that he and Lawndale are conspirators in a scheme to smuggle illegal weapons and ammunition to Vietnam. Convinced that Vin poses no threat to their operation, Track intends to set him free, but unfortunately Vin dies from being strangled by Wynn. The next morning, a housekeeper enters the room and finds Vin's body hanging from a noose, staged to look like he committed suicide.
I can't even get through that without laughing.
Come on, that's a good one.
This doesn't have anything to do with skateboarding, but
it has nothing to do.
Why?
Why? It's so crazy.
Why does Vin give a shit about these discrepancies? Why would some high school kid care about? Well, I don't know. We don't know yet, like about potential money laundering or drug trafficking or weapons or whatever. If I was working somewhere in high school and someone was stealing money and getting ripped off, I wouldn't give a shit. And not enough, especially to break into a warehouse in the middle of the night and start digging through some random crates. Like, what was he looking for? What was he expecting to find? What was he expecting to do? But on top of that, he's so stressed out that he actually picks up smoking.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. The issue is not like they found a clerical discrepancy or anything like that. He's only been working there for 2 weeks. He's only been there for 2 weeks. And on top of that, it's like in the back of a video store.
Vin cares more about the fact that maybe his math is off. He doesn't give two shits about smuggling guns, about Vietnam. Somebody doubted his ability to count numbers. And God damn it. Yeah,
that's not right.
Excuse me,
no,
I've been pushing the numbers, and I think you might be off, and I'm carrying the decimal, and something doesn't add up here, and I need an answer.
Yes. So this is less about guns as it is about his ability to do math. That's an insult. That's a disrespect to his family, to his skills, to his geometry teacher. That's why he risks it all.
Okay, can we talk a little bit about, though, I thought, and it's never explained in the movie, at least I didn't catch it, but maybe you guys did. Is Colonel Track, he's obviously the leader of the Vietnam Anti-Communist Fund, and he's a colonel. So did he escape Vietnam? Was he like part of the resistance fighters that fought alongside the American forces in the Vietnam conflict? And therefore, like, he's sending guns to rebels, like in conjunction with Lawndale, who's the CIA operative? Like, was that ever truly explained why they're doing stuff together?
I think you're thinking way too much into this. They don't even touch on it. It has nothing to do with that. It has nothing to do with skating. It's just like, let's pull all these plot points together, wrap it up. But he clearly is from Vietnam, smuggling weapons to the Vietnamese. But he's not like a colonel. He's not the lead. There's no CIA.
He's definitely a colonel.
Well,
there's definitely some sort of government cover-up that's happening here.
Hold on.
Where else are they getting this ammunition?
Listen, okay, when Oliver North was running weapons, okay, to the Contras, he wasn't doing them out of the back of a video store. Okay, that's a big-time operation.
I don't know, that did not be true.
This is illegal. If he was some kind of war criminal, you wouldn't exactly... It's like Obi-Wan Kenobi hiding out in Tatooine and having people know him as Old Ben. Why would you let people call you Colonel Track if you're trying to hide?
I also don't know much about laundering money or anything, but I feel like a movie rental place is not a good. I mean, how much did it cost to rent one movie in 1989? $1.98.
$1 went pretty far.
How do you hide money through a video VHS rental storefront? There's no cover. You can't hide millions in there.
He was doing multiple operations. He had the Vietnam Anti-Communist Fund. He had the video store. He probably owned a couple of those other businesses in Little Vietnam, it looked like. But they don't ever truly explain why Colonel Trek seems to be a pretty good guy. He's a good boss. He doesn't want to kill Vin. It's an accident of why he kills Vin. And like, he doesn't want to kill Bobby Wynn. Lawndale is the one who's the one that kills him. Lawndale seems like the asshole. Colonel Trek seems like a good guy.
Okay.
Plus, he's raised a pretty hot daughter.
Okay, so listen. We're going to wind this back a little bit here. Okay. This movie has the depth of an A-Team episode.
You're terrible.
The villains and the characters and the plots and what they're doing is developed as much as an episode of MacGyver.
Scooby-Doo.
We have a stereotypical, let's make him a Vietnamese colonel. We don't know whether he's communist or not. They're going to be smuggling weapons. Do we need to know more? No. We don't need to know more. And for you to say that he's a good guy,
yeah,
he was all for them torturing poor Vin.
They wanted to scare him.
You scare him with a wet towel?
Bobby even says, I've done this before and this has never happened.
He said it's even been done to myself and I'm still here. I got excited. I thought they were going to waterboard him. That's what I was looking for.
What do you mean? You were looking forward to that? Yeah, that's what you looked forward to?
I really was.
I was, a little disappointed that they killed Vin so fast because they hardly gave us any time to have any investment in the character to begin with. You know, he's Brian's brother. He's really smart, works at the video store. He's fucking dead. Like, that's it.
Yeah.
But then it also came as a shock. Yeah. Like, that's a pretty dark scene. This movie starts off kind of light. It seems like it might just be, PG-13 skateboarding movie. I'm like, they just fucking strangled his teenage brother, teenage murder in a hotel. And then they dump his body and they stage it as a fucking suicide.
Someone should have shown this movie to Rian Johnson because this is the definition of subverting expectations. You think you're in for like nothing but scenes of a dude skateboarding for 90 minutes. And then it turns into be like, this Vietnam anti-communist relief fund, that happens with a dead brother. It's completely out of left field, but it subverted my expectation. I was not expecting this. And it turns out like this is a much more interesting plot, especially the first half of this movie is really good. You compare that against the fucking schlock that they did for The Last Jedi. That's not subverting expectations. That's ruining millions of people's childhood expectations of what a Star Wars movie is.
So the actor who plays Bobby Wynn, you may recognize him from Big Trouble in Little China. He was Storm 2. He was Rain. So he is a good villain, but you have to turn off in this accidental murder any kind of sense of reality, what would really happen. This is 1989, right? There is a potential suicide in a hotel room. Nobody saw the kid check in. He has no reason to have committed suicide other than he got a B on a geometry test. This is not believable in the least. Take the body out back, make it look like it was some mysterious murder. The evidence is so obvious that's not suicide. It's just laughable that everybody just chalks it up right away. Like, oh, he's Asian. He got a B. He probably killed himself.
Emphasis on that he's a child. Like a child, a dead child found anywhere, whether it's suicide or homicide, and they don't investigate it at all. Like they just have a fucking funeral, say it's a suicide, and everybody carries on. Brian has got to go back to school. The parents are back in the kitchen making fucking breakfast, pretending like nothing ever happened. Somebody's child died in a hotel.
Yeah. Well, at least from a plot perspective, it's a very easy way to show that the detective, I don't remember his name, the detective, the friend of Brian.
Lucero.
That keeps flicking his Lucero. Thank you, Lucero. Brian's friend, Detective Lucero, is on the case. And it gives him a reason to say, you know what? The record showed he never checked in. Obviously, there's something more here. But I will agree with you. In terms of Asian stereotypes, the fucking funeral of Brian.
Oh God.
Are they Vietnamese Christian? Is that why there's a Vietnamese funeral ceremony? Also with the priest, is that how the Brian's family got involved in adopting Vin to begin with? Like, or is it that they really wanted to show the audience this is a Vietnamese person, but we also know you're an American dumb audience, so we got to have a priest here. Like, that was a little tropey. I was like, what is happening here?
I also want to clarify where are they? Is it LA, San Francisco?
LA.
It's LA.
I just want to clarify the
LA Rams.
I wouldn't know that.
Colonel Track would be wearing a 49ers hat.
I want to clarify that in LA, a big urban city, that the same detective that's covering petty crimes like skateboarding in a pool is also covering homicides.
Right,
like,
exactly.
What? Why is he doing both?
Exactly. But I did like that relationship between Detective Lucero and Brian. I thought that was, it was good. It could have been explained a little bit. It could have been described a little bit
You're
further.
saying it's good? You didn't even know what their relationship was.
Yeah, but they were nice. It was, it could have gone the other way. He could have been like the mean old detective who wants to take down the skateboarder kids. I also really like the way that the movie described the relationship between Brian and Vin. They could have been really tropey with this, but I actually like it. But the parents, like the fact that Vin says to Brian, what can I do? I can't pay the rent with good behavior. Like you said, Big D, are the parents actively making Vin pay the rent? Like that's kind of crazy.
Yeah, there could be a sweatshop operation going on down the basement somewhere there. It is a bit odd. And yes, I agree with you on the funeral that I thought it was a bit tropey. I kept just waiting for them to break out an onion volcano on the top of the casket.
Yeah, like in a Benihana.
Yeah,
like, why are we at Benihana all of a sudden?
It was just random. But the thing that's odd to me is like something that Kerry said. And not to get dark right away, but I had mentioned on a previous podcast that when I was in high school, I think it was in like 9th grade, we used to walk to school and cut through the parking lot of a motel. One of the students got pulled in and murdered.
What?
This was this was all over the news. It was like the headline of the news for like 2 weeks because it was like a 17-year-old girl getting murdered. And for Brian to get thrown back into school, what seems like the next day, there's no therapists in school. His friends aren't supportive. The teachers are like treating him like he's just some normal shithead skateboarder. Like, what are you doing, Brian? It's just so odd. And then you have Brian's reaction to the murder of his beloved adopted brother. He shows up late to the funeral. I don't know how that happens. Wasn't everybody getting dressed at home? And mom said, get in a limo.
Well, I gotta clean the cube, man.
Yeah, I'm so down, because families are such a bummer. So he shows up late to the funeral. The whole family's there. They have a volcano onion. And he just puts the chess piece on the casket, leaves, and we get a 5-minute slow motion montage of him on that half pike doing slow motion 360s. It was just so predictable. And at the end, he's sitting there like with his hand on his knee, being pensive. It was like a bad made-for-TV movie.
Yeah, contrary to Urban Dictionary's definition, this truly is Gleaming the Cube. Gleaming the Cube means when you use skateboarding as a means to de-stress and be more mindful of your surroundings and forget about your problems or explore the issues at hand. It's like going to a Zen-like paradise that you can only enter through skateboarding. So that's what it means. When you gleam the cube, it's different than, was it grinding the rock? What was it?
Grind the stone.
Grind the stone. Grind the stone is like you're just fucking skating. But gleaming the cube, you got some problems, man. You're gonna go out to that hive pipe and you're just gonna gnarl for a minute, man.
Was anyone else annoyed that I felt like at some point they were going to explain how Vin got adopted? You see later in the movie, Brian's looking at a picture of Vin's mom and stuff. And I'm just like, when is the story going to give us any background on Vin?
Hold on.
We have no investment in him.
Where did you want them to fit that in this plot?
I mean, we're supposed to be so concerned about this person that's dead and avenging his death. And we don't know anything about him.
What if Colonel Track actually killed Vin's mom?
Listen.
What if Vin's mom was a communist sympathizer and Colonel Track's army killed her and then Vin was an adoption agency?
Do you guys realize that we knew Vin long enough for him to change clothes once? Okay?
Yeah, that makes sense.
I don't need to know background story of his origin in the Vietnamese village he came from. I barely care about him right now.
Well, after the funeral, Brian finds the same list of medical supplies Vin was investigating in their room written in Vietnamese. While looking for someone to translate it, he encounters Bobby Nguyen, who immediately begins to follow him. When Nguyen stops to use a payphone, Brian slips unnoticed into the backseat of a car. In a secluded area, Nguyen meets with Track and Lawndale and attempts to extort them for $50,000 and a plane ticket to Bangkok in exchange for information on Brian. A struggle ensues and Nguyen is inadvertently shot to death by Lawndale. When Track and Lawndale depart, Brian flees to notify the police. However, the authorities find no trace of the crime. Brian confides in Detective Al Lucero, believing that his brother did not commit suicide. While skeptical, Lucero offers to do what he can to help.
Okay, so again, back to logic and common sense. Brian realizes he's being tailed. It's Bobby in that nondescript, large, black 70s sedan. He decides to hide in the back seat. Okay.
Right.
He's not invisible.
No.
He's got a skateboard on and trendy skateboard clothes, and he's hiding in the back of that car.
In daylight.
Yeah, it's like a 60s Continental.
You would have seen him the second that you got out of the car.
Right.
Then you have over there, you have Lawndale and you have the Colonel. How does nobody just see, hey, look, there's a leg sitting in the back of your car?
Right. Yeah, he was like Drax in Infinity War. If he just stayed extremely still, no one could see him. He was invisible.
And then we have a splash of what I could only say was Kool-Aid on the window when Bobby gets shot.
Right.
It was the runniest. It's like, it was a bad MacGyver episode. He's shot. Pew, there's like a delay and then Kool-Aid on the window. Bobby hits the window.
Yeah.
And we're off to the races.
Yeah, but I like how this movie does. All right, for every dumb interaction, like there's no way Christian Slater's character Brian would be going to the hotel, getting into a fight with the maid who doesn't believe that he has a Vietnamese brother and would hop in the back of the entourage car, only to be witness to a murder that happens in Orange Grove. And then for every dumb situation that happens like that, at least he does try and contact the cops and like at least try to do something. So I like how sometimes the plot does have explanations that make a little bit of sense, but the police don't investigate the trunk, which makes no sense to me.
Okay. Carrie, let's reenact the scene, right? You are a maid. Okay. You have one line. You're just going to question when you see the
housekeeping.
Hey, do you know who found that body in that room?
I found it.
He was my brother. He doesn't look like anything to me. So what would you say?
You guys aren't brothers. What do I look like, a fucking idiot?
Hey, he actually was my brother. Let me show you a picture of us. He was adopted in from Vietnam. Can you help me? Did you know any information?
Then I say, show me your fucking warrant.
You're the smartest maid that ever worked in the atomic, what was it called?
The Atomic Age.
No, you're
in the
right,
Atomic
man.
Age Lodge. No,
next to Disneyland.
All he had to do is tell the maid, hey, it's my brother. He was adopted. And maybe she gives you the details. And then Lucerno again hammers the nail back on poor Brian's head, if not everybody else is shitting on him, that he says, yeah, you know what? All the evidence points to your brother was a suicide. And that leads to another intense
what evidence?
Skating, pensive montage. No, he got a B+ in geometry. That's the evidence.
That was the Flashdance skating montage.
Yeah, at the airport.
Yeah. No. Again, was it at the airport? I thought it was like in an abandoned warehouse.
No, the planes are taking off in the background.
Oh, got it. Yeah.
But it's like close up on Christian Slater's face, and he's doing this. Look at me. Watch.
Right.
And then he's cut away.
Yeah, he's pretending to skateboard.
Wait, you gotta take a selfie video for our listeners. Come on.
I'm really glad. Because podcasting is such a visual medium.
I need to frost my tips because it's like
so good. But like, Carrie, did you find Lucero hot at all? Yeah, because he's like the 80s hot. He's like a low rent Mel Gibson from Lethal Weapon.
In my notes, I was like, the only thing that this cop is adding to this at all is that he's fucking hot. There's no investigation. Really? He goes from investigating or a half arresting teenagers gleaming the cube in someone's fucking pool, and then now he's a homicide detective. What?
But like, did you find it odd when we got to Detective Lucero's house and it's like a total bachelor pad? Are you attracted to bachelor pads?
Were you watching this? That was not his apartment. That's
definitely
Bobby's
his
apartment.
house.
No.
That's Bobby's apartment.
He broke into Bobby's
That's
house.
Bobby Wynn's apartment?
Yes. Brian takes the phone book. He looks up all the R wins, and he's going house to house, knocking on the door to see who answers. He knocks on that door. Lucero's already in there. Okay. He's contaminated the crime scene.
Yeah, Lucero's like he's living there. I thought that was Lucero's apartment.
No, he was investigating. He doesn't have a search warrant. He's contaminating all the evidence. And then he lets some random skateboard kid in there. Yeah. Anything he finds there. I thought halfway through the movie that it was going to turn out he was working for Lawndale or for Track.
Yeah.
And he was a dirty cop.
That would have been a good twist.
Yeah, that was not his apartment. Only you I could picture with those posters on your wall.
Yeah, I was like, here's a guy who doesn't have his shit together, but yeah, he's a detective. I can relate to this guy. Well, as Brian's suspicion of Colonel Track grows, he decides to reach out to Track's daughter, Tina, a fellow high school student and Vin's ex-girlfriend. After an image makeover, Brian asks her out on a date and the two become closer. He attends one of Vakriff's social functions with Tina, where he notices Lawndale and learns of his connection to Track and the WMS. Following in his brother's footsteps, Brian sneaks into Lawndale's warehouse and successfully uncovers a cache of weapons in a shipping crate.
First of all, why is he asking his dead brother's girlfriend out?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Unless it's just to find out more information that he already knows anything. But he asks her out and she's like, I can't date white boys, American boys. My father won't let me even be friends with them. So he goes home, rips off posters off the wall, starts dyeing his frosted tips back to his normal hair, and he shaves and he showers and he gets rid of the dangle earring, gets rid of the fingerless gloves, becomes less attractive to Carrie Gross, then puts on Then he puts on Vinny's clothes and shows up, and all of a sudden Tina's like, oh shit.
No, it's not just Tina, it's the entire school.
No, it is everybody. And he is hot. I mean, he could still have a dangle earring and look like a normie, but what is what is the plot? What are they trying to get us to believe? That all of a sudden he's just ripping everything off, he's going to be normal? Is this suppressed trauma that is...
Did he expect that Colonel Track would come into his room? Why did he need to rip down all the posters?
Yeah.
Stop skateboarding. He rode a bike to school.
Isn't he taking this a bit? Isn't he taking it a bit far? But where's his support structure? His brother just committed suicide. He shows up. That is a trigger to get a therapist into school. You know, a brother of a suicide victim has all of a sudden changed his personality, his wardrobe. He's having some kind of a mental episode. People in school are making fun of him. His brother just died.
That's right. The movie completely forgets that the brother just committed suicide like a week ago.
Maybe 2 days.
They could be like, hey, like, are you okay? Like, what's happening? Like, is all of this because like you looked up to your brother and you now want to become him? Like, is everything all right in your head? They're like, what's up, bro? Why are you dressing like a normie? Where's your bike, bro?
What kind of fucking brother asks his dead brother's girlfriend out on a date?
Fuck you. What ex-girlfriend goes out with her dead boyfriend's brother?
Not only that, but she breaks into the window soaking wet and then sleeps in her dead ex-boyfriend's bed next to her dead ex-boyfriend's brother and then kisses him in the morning. What the fuck? Tina's a bitch.
Also, Tina's a bitch because like she has discrimination hypocrisy. She's mad at her parents for discriminating against white people, but she discriminates Brian for being a skater. It's the exact same thing. You're discriminating someone based upon their looks. Oh, he doesn't fit into your crowd. You're going to make this guy, you know, take out his dangly earring just so you can kiss him and come in and cuddle with him. Like, this is a fucked up relationship.
I'm not condoning discriminating, period, but race and hobbies aren't the same. Okay?
What? Are you? Hold on.
There's no race hypocrisy from being racist against, you know, Vietnamese and or white, or being like, he's a skater. It's different. You can choose to be a skater. You choose to be a Republican.
Wait a minute. So you can discriminate against hobbies?
No. Yes, you can choose not to. You can choose not to be a Harry Potter, LARPer, but you can't choose not to be Asian.
Sounds like someone wants to live in a communist authoritarian state where everyone dresses and acts the same.
I wouldn't mind it, honestly.
Okay, so I don't want us to let Tina off the hook yet, right? How many days did Brian have to go to school dressed up like an Old Navy ad or like a Gap ad It seems like in one day, this great transformation happened, and she's willing to introduce him to the family. And the family doesn't raise the flag like, hey, you know, in the Vietnamese culture, you know, respect and tradition, nobody raises the red flag about honoring the dead. We know that Vin had a Vietnamese funeral because we saw it. Isn't there a waiting period, a cool down period before the parents dating the white skateboard brother of the ex-boyfriend who just killed himself?
I want to know the actual timeline of this movie. I'm feeling it's like 48 hours.
Yeah.
It's like 2 days.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is where the movie definitely goes off the rails. The first half of the movie, again, it subverts expectations. You're like, wow, I wasn't expecting any of this, but it's not bad. They're executing at a higher level than I was thinking I was going to be witnessing when I went into this. But this is where the movie definitely starts to be like very tropey. There's all kinds of, you know, 80s scenes that we've seen before of like the makeover guy who surprises everyone in the high school, and then he has to impress the girl. You know, it's this is where the movie loses it for me. This is why I can see people rate this movie 29% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Up until this point, you were like, "This."
Up
is
until
brilliant.
this point, I was in. I was completely invested. I put my phone down. I was only doing one thing at a time.
This explains why you thought Heat's plot was too complex.
Are you kidding me? There's a fucking nuclear fallout in Nabu's backyard turned into a badass game room.
Yeah, that's
how awesome is that? That was cool.
No, I agree. It's pretty. And you keep saying this movie surprised you, is what you didn't expect. I didn't expect this either. This was like a cheesy Kirk Cameron Christian made for TV video, or like the Kirk Cameron movie about like the fire department. It's all hidden religious messages. This was an absolute joke.
Are you kidding me? This movie is awesome. I would totally, if I was a skater, I would love this movie. I love this movie, and I'm not a skater. While taking matters into his own hands, Brian causes an explosion at the warehouse and plants evidence to incriminate Track, but Lucero immediately suspects Brian and admonishes him for the act. However, the incident causes Track to panic and send his wife and daughter away to his brother's house for their own safety. A distressed Tina spends the night with Brian instead and discovers a lighter belonging to her father in Brian's room, leading Brian to explain all his suspicions to her. Tina angrily confronts her father about the conspiracy, who is shamed by his involvement and contacts Lawndale to remove himself from the operation. In response, Lawndale begins to target Brian directly, sending a group of Vietnamese motorcyclists to run him down on the street. The police manage to apprehend the bikers, and with the aid of an interpreter, Lucero is able to confirm Lawndale's role in the attack.
Okay, so I told you I had suspected that Lucero was a dirty cop. Brian admits to committing arson. He admits he set the fire to shake things up. Air quotes.
Right.
Lucero should arrest him on the spot.
On the spot!
Not only that, but he trapped those poor security guards in their little booth.
In the trailer,
with smoke, and then rolled them down a hill. This is like Wile E. Coyote in the fucking, a cartoon.
Yeah. He just flicks his ear. He's like, no, you rascal, you.
Also, we're led to believe that a high schooler in the middle of the night finds, through the phone book pre-internet, that this is where everything's going down. He finds this fucking warehouse and then he burns it down instead of calling an anonymous tip or letting Lucero know.
Right. There's so many other options.
Anything.
So many other options.
And then the fire marshals come, and there's 50 rifles and 20,000 rounds of ammunition in these crates that have now been burned down. They don't find this shit?
Well, no, they didn't burn the warehouse down. He only made the propane tank explode.
That's right.
So the police come.
But it wouldn't cause them to go in there?
No, I don't think so. Not necessarily.
No, but Lucero was like arson. It's got to be arson.
Yeah, but first off, gasoline poured on a propane tank doesn't work. If that was the case, every hillbilly barbecue would be fucking exploding every Saturday.
I don't know. I've seen some videos.
But there are some hidden moments of gold in this movie that made me laugh out loud. When Brian first changes his outfits and the father pulls into the driveway and sees Brian on his fucking bicycle. Yeah. He just drives right past him and crashes into the garage.
And you hear crashing.
That or the melancholy moment where the father is watching old VHS video of Brian, Vin, and himself playing Frisbee. And Brian just refuses. He goes, I hate Frisbee. Who hates Frisbee? And the fact he just stands there and lets the Frisbee hit him like Homer Simpson and just fall to the ground.
And Vin's like, come on, Brian. Just come on. Like, come on. It'll be okay. And the father's like, yeah, Brian, come on, let's do this. All right, Brian. Yeah, here's the Frisbee. And then like at that moment, they realize like, I don't know why I hated you so much my entire life.
Meanwhile, nobody's having a conversation with their high school son that just lost his high school brother to suicide/murder.
No, and his whole personality just randomly changed. And he's bringing home his brother's ex-girlfriend.
Let me ask you this though: Can Christian Slater actually act?
No, not at this point.
Not in this movie. There's not acting. I mean, this is a fucking after school special.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And instead of it's like don't smoke pot, it's don't get involved with Vietnamese weapon smuggling.
Right.
No, don't get involved with Tina.
Brought to you by Pizza Hut.
You get involved with Tina, you fucking turn up dead. I'm surprised her mother's not dead yet.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Brian visits his friend Yabo, who builds a newer, faster skateboard for Brian and rallies the rest of the skateboarding clique. Brian and police both converge upon Colonel Track's house, where Lawndale takes Tina hostage at gunpoint. When Track tries to wrestle the gun away, Brian crashes through the room through the window, but Lawndale shoots and kills Track before making his escape in a stolen police car. A chaotic chase ensues, with Brian, Lucero, and the entire skateboarding crew eventually cornering Lawndale. As Lawndale prepares to shoot him, Brian soars into the air on a skateboard and knocks him out, injuring himself in the process. At the hospital, Brian tries to comfort Tina in the wake of her father's death and suggests that they go back to school together, implying that their relationship will continue. The film ends with Brian and Lucero visiting Vin's grave before driving away. End movie.
Okay, so I'm fairly confident that this gearing up montage, like in Commando, that this gives skater kids of the 80s like full-blown erections. This is like for them the most exciting gearing up, but at least in Commando, he had 50 different kinds of weapons. You know, he was loading grenades, he had claymores, he had a bunch of weapons and rounds. A skateboard, they make it seem like it took Yabu 15 minutes to put together this stealth skateboard. He would have had that shit done in like 2 minutes.
Yeah, we're supposed to believe this is some NASA engineering on the skateboard that's going to allow Brian to reach high speed, like highway speeds on the back of a Corvette. He's going well over 70 miles an hour, just hanging in the backside like Marty McFly on the back of, you know, a 1950s Studebaker. Like, is Yabu supposed to be like Yoda? Is supposed to be like the wise wizard that our hero protagonist goes and visits, and he gives him some sort of like some sort of magical device, like a ring that'll make him invisible before he has to throw it into the pit of despair?
This is as ridiculous as Christmas Vacation when Clark puts that new lubricant on his slide and he takes off down the hill and it sets the snow on fire. This is absolutely ridiculous. A lot of things in this are ridiculous. It's predictable. It's amateurish. We've said that. When I saw Brian climb the wall, when he's finally decided, you know, he rallies up the troops, you know, he calls up Tony Hawk and says, yo, do you still have the Pizza Hut truck? Let's get it. Round up the boys. He climbs over the wall at Track's house. He sees inside the window that Lawndale has a gun to Tina's head and that the father's there. And I look down at the ground and I see a little mini ramp, like it's just out of place on their patio. I said, oh, fuck, he's going to jump through the window. Yes, he jumps through the window. He's on the floor, incapacitated. Is there anything that we've learned from Lawndale's character that would not make us think he's going to just turn right there and shoot Brian in the head on the floor? He's already killed the colonel.
Again, I wrote in my notes, what the fuck does this movie have anything to do with skateboarding? So Yabo makes this fast skateboard and all the guys rally together. They get in the back of this fucking Pizza Hut truck. But what are they going to do? Like, what are they going to do?
Yeah, well, Lucero has his crew. Brian has his.
So then we get to the house, and Lawndale shoots the colonel in the fucking chest in
the
front of his daughter.
Fucking murders him.
And then Christian Slater busts through the window. The wife is screaming and crying about her dying husband. Yeah. Then the guy stole the cop car. And then Lucero breaks into this car. And I'm sorry, but what fucking car, especially in the 80s, is verbal like this? It's like, there is an electrical malfunction.
There is
an electrical malfunction. Your right door is ajar.
Yeah, there was a line of cars that definitely had verbal commands, and people realized, I don't want this at all.
But I want to ask, why do we assume that Lucero is actually a police officer?
You still count on this.
Okay.
Yeah, he doesn't dress like him. I've never saw a badge.
No, he doesn't. Other than the fact that
he's the other adopted brother, and we just don't even know. They never.
That's what I thought.
We've seen him pretend to be a cop. He could be one of those guys who drives around with like a mall security badge. Because look, what cop is going to leave his keys in the car? He doesn't call for backup. He has no radio with him to call for backup.
None.
And then who's going to find this police car that's stolen? The LAPD, who he doesn't call, or a Pizza Hut truck with 8 skateboarders in the back? It's ridiculous. And then he gets the door ripped off. Another LAPD cop pulls up. And how does he signal that he's a police officer? He gives him a big thumbs up. And the cop somehow knows. Okay, let's keep going.
That's right. Well, that's the sign. That's the sign. It's the 80s.
This reminds me of a Law and Order SVU episode where someone imitates a cop for a long time.
Yeah.
It's. I mean.
Yeah. He stole Colonel Track's car.
Yes. And then wrecked it.
Yeah.
And then Brian busts through the window.
Yeah. Exactly. Oh my God, this movie goes fucking off the rails.
Off the rails.
It is crazy. However, I will say the highway scene, the Wachowski sisters totally stole this highway chase scene for The Matrix Reloaded, because for a movie that must have had a very low budget, I don't even know what the budget was for this movie, but it couldn't have been like very much. For what they did, outside of the scenes of Brian hanging off the edge of a Corvette where the driver's giving him thumbs up, like this is not bad.
Okay, so listen, I know we're a little more sophisticated, movie connoisseurs nowadays. We have an idea because we can watch.
Roger thinks Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is a zero white movie.
Fuck you. Compare Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles to this movie.
Listen,
and tell me it's not far superior.
I'm going to let it, just listen. So we understand now from behind the scenes that we've all seen that when he's behind the Corvette, he's actually standing on a platform and just holding on. Those are all cheesy.
Shit, because how the fuck could that happen?
Right. So listen, this is where it gets wacky. Yes, that's obviously cheesy and predictable. Do you know the under the truck skateboard move? They actually did that. They did that. You can see Christian Slater's face wobble because they rotoscoped it. You're telling me that you're going to risk some stuntman's life to go under a semi. Now, granted, they weren't going 100 miles an hour, but you're going to do all these other cost-cutting, cheesy tricks? As bad as this movie is plot-wise, the mystery, the drama of the police, they at least put some effort into the skateboard tricks, even though they defy every known law of physics and gravity.
It's what makes this movie good. There's no CGI. It's just like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It's all practical effects, which I would argue Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles also a skateboarding movie.
What do you think that fucking stunt guy got paid to ride a skateboard underneath a semi going on the freeway?
I don't know. He was probably paid in tacos or Pizza Hut. He's probably paid in personal pan pizzas.
But it's just absolutely ridiculous. Like Carrie mentioned it. What's this crew going to do? It's 8 unarmed teenagers against a guy with a gun. Let's say it again. He has a gun and 2 hostages.
In the daylight.
Yeah.
It's not in the fucking middle of nowhere at night. Like, just call the cops.
Okay, I just realized this. Maybe, most likely, people who are listening have not watched it. So I'll break it down real simple here, okay? So we have 3 people in the car, a driver who's a hostage teen in the back. So they're driving away. They're being chased now by Christian Slater on a skateboard. Yes, let's keep this in mind.
He's hanging on the back. He's hanging on the back of a Corvette.
He keeps up by he's on the Corvette. He then slides under a semi. He gets to the Pizza Hut truck.
The Pizza Hut gang truck, right?
Yes, the Pizza Hut gang truck is now towing 8 guys in the back and Christian Slater. Lawndale crashes the police car, so he gets out. They do kind of a slingshot move where Christian Slater somehow miraculously skateboards up the side of a vertical wall, then turns that into an elevated jump and jumps what had to have been 40 or 50 feet in the air, hitting Lawndale directly in the gun, knocking the gun out of his hand, not hitting Tina in the face with that flying 80-mile-an-hour skateboard. He hits the ground, and right on the scene pops up Lucerno, all the police, the 8 guys in the Pizza Hut truck. It is an absolute explosion of shit on the screen.
You don't think this is all plausible? At all plausible?
It's as plausible as Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles living in the sewer and ordering pizza.
Guys, great movie. Probably the greatest of all time. Yeah, no, this movie is bonkers. The ending's terrible.
Oh.
It's the same thing that happened earlier when he crashed through the fucking window. But I will say, again, diverted expectations. I was not expecting the father to die. He fucking died. I thought he was going to come back to life, and then we're going to he's going to be accepting of Brian now, and he was going to be, I'll change, being shot has taught me that the error of my ways. I'm now going to be they could have done that, but it's not. He fucking died. He's done.
You want to talk about subverting expectations? We now have Lawndale's arrested. They have to ram an extra scene at the end of Christian Slater in the hospital. Tina shows up. Now, let's keep in mind that Tina, in a roundabout way, is responsible for her father's death. She plays a part in causing him to break the agreement with Lawndale. He gets shot and murdered. Her boyfriend's been murdered. She's now dating the brother of her dead boyfriend. She's been a hostage and taken on this high-speed chase. She's now in love with Brian. She holds his hand and says, I'm scared to go back to school. And he says, we'll go walk back together. What the fuck are people in school going to think? How about Tina feel bad that her father's murdered, her mother's widowed, the house now needs a new window. Dead. Boyfriend's dead. Everything that Brian touches turns to shit. Mm-hmm. And Tina's now in love with him. And that's the scene we get to end this movie.
Agreed. Yeah.
Fuck Tina.
Yeah, fuck Tina. Seriously. She was terrible. Fuck Tina.
She's a bad person.
She's not great.
No.
Well, now's the part of the podcast where we break out our Shat meters and give you our wipe scores. If you've never listened to the podcast before, a zero wipe movie is a perfect movie. It's like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle of skateboard movies. It's just flawless in execution and the greatest of all time. A 5 wipe movie is like the equivalent of Gleaming the Cube in a public restroom, out by an abandoned golf course. So it's not a pleasant experience. So 5 wipes bad, 0 wipes good. Carrie, how many wipes do you give this movie?
The only thing I liked about this movie was Christian Slater's face. And if we had made Christian Slater his own category, we could have picked something that was actually enjoyable to watch. I'm kicking myself for voting illegally on several different IP addresses to watch this just to see his face when I could just Google a picture just as easily. But, I mean, there's some sense in saying that I enjoyed it, that it was so terrible that it was fucking enjoyable. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's enjoyable. Yeah. So what do you give this? How many wipes?
It's not a 5. What have I given a 5 to? Showgirls?
You gave Time Cop a 5, Showgirls a 5, In the Mouth of Madness a 5. You're just 5. A 5-aholic.
No, I'm not. Blade Runner's a 0. This is a 4.5. This is a 4.5. It's not
really 4.5. Really,
it's less than Time Cop.
Let the girl go.
It's better. I almost said it's better than Gleaming the Cube.
How dare you, Big D? How many wipes do you give this movie?
Okay, so this is easy for me. The fact that this movie is almost impossible to find online tells you that there's active measures out there going on right now to make this film disappear. Everyone involved in this movie is embarrassed. And the worst thing I can say about it, as much as I said it's formulaic, it's predictive, the acting is terrible, the worst thing I can say is it's amateurish. It's like it was a student project. It's done terribly. The editing's rough. The audio's rough. It was like nobody cared. Like they never thought it was going to come out. But, oh, God, whoops, we released it. Oh, it's out there. It was really bad. The only good part were the skateboarding parts, but unfortunately they were too far and few between. And when they were on screen, they were mostly ridiculous or just those split shots with Christian Slater's head going left and right and then somebody else's body doing all the moves. I'm giving it without a doubt a 5. And I want to tell you,
come
Roger,
on.
you will like this. I would rather watch Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 5 times than watch this again.
Yeah, that makes sense.
This
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is great.
Just so you can know, of the movies that I've given 5s, 10 Things I Hate About You
That was better than this.
is better than this. Predator 2,
Better than this.
better than this.
False.
Robin Hood, Prince
Better.
of Thieves, better than this.
No way.
In the Mouth of Madness.
Thanks a lot, Richard.
Sorry, Richard.
I didn't watch it.
Sorry, Richard.
I wasn't on it.
Sorry, Richard. Willow, better than this. Speed,
No way.
Speed 2, better than this. Showgirls,
No, this is far superior than Speed 2.
Look, Showgirls, that shark attack sex scene, ooh, that's better than this. This is my
I'd watch
least
Showgirls.
favorite movie. I would give it a 5.5 if I could, because
You're crazy.
listen, the people involved didn't care enough to put out a quality product.
No, that's not true. They
Yes.
just didn't have the resources. This is a independent movie.
Well, it looks like it.
Yeah, that's the whole point. It's a cult classic.
Are you sure that production company you looked at?
Every fucking movie is a cult classic, according to Raj. If you fast forward through any pod, he says, it's a cult classic, it's a classic, it's a cult classic.
Was that production intro you saw? You sure that wasn't a high school AV club? Was this done as a project?
I said it sounded like a high school science video. I said that in the beginning.
Yes,
you never listen to me on these podcasts.
I do.
How many wipes do you give it?
5 easily.
All right, 5 wipes. This movie is definitely a 2.5 wipe movie.
Shut up.
Sorry, this is 5 wipes and using your bidet.
You're crazy. This movie is at best a
No.
2.5 wipe movie.
Get
The first half
fuck
of this
out
movie
here.
subverts all your expectations. It is not just a stupid stoner skater movie where it's Hollywood's depiction of what skaters are. You know, there's a reason this movie is well respected in the skating community. There's a reason this movie influenced other skater movies, is because it's good. It's not the movie you expect. The first half of this movie, it's like pretty well done on the budget that they have. And, you know, the fact that they were amateurs doing a lot of this stuff. However, the second half of this movie does get a little crazy for me, but they still do pull off some pretty cool stunts. Like, you know, Tony Hawk or whoever the skateboard stunt double is, that goes practically goes under the fucking semi-truck trailer. That's pretty cool. That's pretty awesome. I like this movie. I thought it was good. I would watch it again.
Just to
this movie
clarify,
definitely is only
this movie is good to someone that previously in this podcast stated that he was a good kid in high school. He never drank. He never did drugs. He never did anything. He never skateboarded. That's the kind of person that finds this movie cool.
Yeah, because I wanted to be part of that crew, and I couldn't roll with the Bones crew or whatever it's called. Anyway, if we add up all of our scores, if we scan up all of our reviews, a 5, a 4.5, and a 2.5, that gives us an average of 4 wipes. Big D, where does Gleaming the Cube end up on our pantheon of Shat?
So Gleaming the Cube. Oh, I'm okay, good. I was a little worried. I thought it was higher than it actually was. Okay, so at 4 wipes average, because that's a total of 12 wipes between the 3 of us. Let me make sure my math is good here, because Gene struggles.
Can I change mine to a 5 since he put his at a 2.5?
No, you can't. No, you get it's like the SATs. You
Yes.
get 1 score. No, it's the opposite of the SATs.
I agree. You can't do a punitive vote. So 5, a 2.5, and a 4.5. I got to do my Gene math in my head. Let me get my pencil out. Okay, that is 6, 7, and a 5.
I already
That's
told
12.
you it's 4.
I'm just double checking. Gene's had problems before.
Yeah,
So-
well, we don't want a Vin situation. We don't want you to, kill yourself, hang yourself.
Yes. At 4 wipes, it is tied at 69 with Arachnophobia, Real Genius, and Armageddon. That's disgusting.
69 dudes. Yeah, this system works. What movie are we what movie category do we have up next? We don't have any shout outs because Gene's away and we don't know how to access shout outs. So what movie category are we doing next, Big D?
So if today was a good dose of warm gas station sushi, I think next week is maybe like that volcano taco at Taco Bell, or I'm trying to think of something. Carrie, you're an expert with evacuating bowels. What's a good food that would probably just vacate our bowels almost instantaneously?
It's called Go Lightly. It's the colon prep for
prunes.
Yeah, prune juice. It's called Go Lightly.
Go lightly.
It seems like the opposite of what.
Go
what's
not
gonna happen.
so lightly.
You're going to be going. Yeah, you're going to be going heavily.
Yeah. So this movie is the actor, the human prune. We'll just call him. The category was the best of Steven Seagal.
I'm out.
The categories were On Deadly Ground, Out for Justice, Marked for Death, Above the Law, Hard to Kill, and Under Siege. And I challenge any of you or anybody out there who could describe the posters of these movies, because they're all almost identical. It's Steven Seagal standing stoically with a shotgun. They all look like the same movie to me. But obviously, the people out there, you love one of them more than another, because the one that won got 67% of the votes, and we had almost 1,700 votes. So unless Kerry was on every computer in the hospital, people love this.
I skipped the Steven Seagal option. You can skip out of one. And so I didn't vote on a single one because I don't want to watch any of those fucking movies.
You're going to have to watch it. I'm in Luxembourg.
I'm out.
I'm in Luxembourg next week.
King B.
You're in. King B. No, he has been microdosing. Well, that concludes this week's episode of Shat the Movies. Be sure to follow us everywhere on social media and share with a friend. We're on Twitter, Snapchat, Instagram, and Facebook. Just search for Shat the Movies Podcast. You can also check us out on our website, where you can vote for upcoming movies at shatthemovies.com. Our email address, if you want to request some movies, is hosts@shatthemovies.com. We're everywhere. Fine podcasts can be found, including iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, YouTube, iHeartRadio, and Spotify. Be sure to subscribe. And if you stop by iTunes, please be sure to leave a 5-star review. That really helps the podcast grow. You can also check out our sister podcast, Shat on TV, where we review television series such as Westworld, Taboo, and American Gods. Find all the information on our website at shatontv.com. On behalf of my co-host, Big D, Dick Ebert, and Carrie Yabu Gross, I'm Roger Roper. Be sure to join us next week for the following Steven Seagal masterpiece. I'm Roger Roper. Take care, good night, and good luck.
It was the final voyage of America's mightiest battleship.
What's on this helicopter? This little sweetheart, Miss July 89.
God, I love this business.
I love you.
The party was wild.
Love you to death.
They really knocked them dead. Imagine this arsenal of tactical nuclear weapons falling into the wrong hands. The Pentagon never did.
4 minutes ahead of schedule. Damn, I'm good.
Now, a team of terrorists have taken over.
Wake up the president.
But there's just one thing they didn't count on. The cook.
Are you like some special forces guy or something?
No, I'm just a cook.
Oh my God, we're gonna die.
This is not the work of a cook.
I want you to coordinate your efforts with us.
Yes, sir.
I see that you completely disobeyed my orders.
Roger that.
Ryback is an ex-SEAL. Expert in martial arts. Explosives.
Stand back!
Weapons and tactics.
I also cook.
The Nimitz is tracking 2 Tomahawks just launched from the Missouri.
Where are they headed?
Honolulu.
Happy trails.
Steven Seagal.
I know you, don't I?
Tommy Lee Jones.
Been a long time.
I'll see you in hell, Sailor Boy.
Under Siege.
Gleaming the Cube.
Phrase Gleaming the Cube.
It doesn't really mean anything to me because I don't know what it means.
What?
It's that part of no return when
Yeah.
you can take yourself.
Yeah.
When you reach deep down inside and make it shine. It sets you apart.
Is this better than Maroon 5?
Yeah, way better. Say with
Adam Levine is the biggest fucking douchebag on this planet.
Who is?
Oh,
Adam Levine.
No. Who's the lead singer of Creed? Scott Stapp? That guy's the biggest douchebag.
No, Maroon 5, he's a bigger douchebag.
Why?
I met him at a greet and meet. He was actually very nice.
When was the last time Scott Stapp was considered one of people's sexiest men? Never. But Adam Levine is, and he's a fucking douchebag.
1998?
No.
He's got those fucking cool tattoos.
They're not cool.
Yeah.
He's on The Voice.
He's got very angular features. Women really love him. He's very short and tiny. He's a tiny man.
What songs does he have besides Sugar? What else was there?
Are you kidding me? Maroon 5?
Yeah, sing us one. I don't remember.
Let's see here. What else?
You got the moves like Jagger. You got the moves like Jagger.
I like older Maroon 5. Old Maroon 5 is pretty good.
What? Older Maroon, like OG Maroon?
It's
is this like
underground
Jimmy Buffett OG?
Buffett.
Listen, Jimmy Buffett was definitely underground before Margaritaville hit and all that kind of shit.
So Adam Levine's not your favorite judge on The Voice?
I don't even know what that means.
Isn't Shakira a judge on The Voice these days?
Who's not a judge?
All right, can we do this podcast? Because I've got to have dinner.